The most time-consuming part of creating any wedding film is editing. You can film a wedding in one day, but for many videographers, editing takes many days, if not weeks, to finish. And I have to say, as someone who has edited literally hundreds of wedding films at this point, the majority of your time editing is going to be spent discovering and shaping the story of the wedding day. You have audio from the ceremony, the officiant's message, the vows, audio from the toast, best wishes from the couple's friends and family, letters the couple has written, interviews, so many places and moments of the day that you have to watch back and listen to really be able to tell the story of this couple. But what if there was a tool that could make this process of finding and telling the story easier? What if this tool could listen to all of these moments from the wedding day, pick out the most powerful elements, and then cut and arrange them on your timeline for you to view, literally saving you days of assembling a story and enabling you to deliver wedding films faster than ever before? Well, that tool exists, and it's called Plotline. And hey, my name is Matt Johnson, and today I'm going to be reviewing this tool and telling you if it lives up to the premise that I just talked about. We're going to talk about how it works and how well it works, and we're also going to discuss how this tool may be controversial, because I haven't said the word yet, but I'm going to say it now. Plotline uses AI, and anytime you start talking about AI in the creative space with generative AI, etc., a lot of people have very strong opinions about it. You may have already started to type some of your own down in the comments below, and I absolutely welcome that. Now, let's dive into Plotline. And for clarity and ethics, I want you to know this video is not paid or sponsored by this platform. Plotline was actually created by a friend of mine, an incredibly talented wedding videographer named McLean Carlson. He runs Hello Tomorrow Wedding Films and is one of the most talented videographers in Canada and really in the world. And as a wedding videographer who edits videos all the time, Mac wanted to build something to help videographers save time when it comes to one of the most time-consuming parts of creating any wedding film, the editing. Now, let's dive in and talk about how Plotline works. For the sake of this review, I'm going to be using DaVinci Resolve, but you should know that Plotline is tested and compatible with all the big video editing software platforms. DaVinci Resolve, Adobe Premiere, Final Cut. To start, you have to import all of your footage into your editing software, synchronize it, and basically get it to the point where all of your A-roll is on the timeline, ready for you to listen through it. In this case here, I've created a master timeline with letters that the couple wrote to each other. Then you have the wedding ceremony, and at the end, you also have toasts from the best man and maid of honor. The only things I've cut out are the ceremony processional at the beginning, the recessional at the end, and there's also a moment where the couple played music in the middle, and that can confuse Plotline, so just remove the music before you use it. Once that is done, this is now the point where if you were going to be editing this video manually, you would start to play through all of this A-roll on the timeline, listening to the audio, picking out important moments that you think are relevant to the story that you're trying to tell. And while this is, in my opinion, one of the most creative parts of editing any video, because it's here that you're really discovering the story that you're trying to tell, at the same time, it's also one of the most time-consuming parts, because aside from listening to the audio at 2x speed, there's really no other shortcut to help save you time doing this. You have to just sit there and put in hours of work. And depending on how long the ceremony is and how many toasts there were, etc., this can really take a lot of time. That is where Plotline comes in, though, because the promise of this software is that it is capable of doing this job of listening to all this audio and discovering the story for you. So instead of watching through all the A-roll, you are instead going to export an XML file of the entire timeline of the full wedding day. Then here's where things get interesting. You're also going to export an MP3 file of the entire timeline, because Plotline is going to use this audio track with this XML file to work its magic. With those exported, go over to Plotline, sign in, and then click Create New Project. Here you're going to be presented with options to select whether you want to edit a wedding film or something else, because yes, you don't necessarily have to use Plotline for editing a wedding film. It can easily handle corporate or commercial work, interviews, etc. Just keep that in mind. We're going to select wedding film, and I'll give it a project name, Topher and Gigi, which is the couple's name of the wedding film that we will be having it edit. Then click Create Project, and up here under your recent projects, it's going to show that project, and you can click on it and that's going to bring you to the upload page. Here's where you need to upload those XML and MP3 files for this project. Click on upload audio file, and I would note here that Plotline recommends having your timeline be composed of all of the audio from the wedding day to help give it greater context for the story that you are trying to tell. Then select your MP3 file. Down here, you're going to want to select your timeline frame rate, which will probably be 23.976 frames per second, and the number of speakers. For this video, it was 5 different people speaking, so I'm going to select that. And for language, I'm going to leave it set to English and click upload file. And then we're also going to want to go over here and add our XML file. So click add XML. And there's a lot of info on this upload page to help make sure that your XML is formatted properly. I would recommend reading this drop-down menu here for your specific editing software to make sure that you are using the correct settings. After you do that, select your XML file, press open, click upload file. Once you have both of these uploaded, Plotline's going to go to work analyzing your audio and transcribing the words spoken, combining that with the XML file, and finding the story of your wedding film, saving you hours of time. Side note, by the way, Mac confirmed to me that Plotline doesn't use any of your audio or XML files for training its AI or anything like that. It is all kept private. Anyways, once all of that is processed, you can then click the next tab here, the transcript tab, and this transcript is going to present you with a list of all of the speakers that it was able to detect, as well as the full transcript of all of the audio from the timeline. You could go in and try to manually name everyone here by going over to speaker, clicking edit, name it like, okay, speaker A, I think that might be the groom. Okay, I'll put him there. Speaker B, is that the bride? Try to put that on there. That can be a real pain though. So just have AI do it for you by clicking this identify speakers button, where it's then going to identify all 7 speakers. This is hilarious. The mic picked up me speaking, so it labeled me as the wedding videographer / wedding coordinator, which, hey, I do feel like a coordinator sometimes, but no, I will just stick to wedding videography. And then you can scroll through all of the transcript and see how it looks. And notice here it's recognizing, oh, here's the groom's name, here's some other terms we would use to call him that. It's recognizing that. This is so cool. If you have any tweaks you need to make here, changing names, etc., feel free to do that. Please note that Plotline does not recommend adding too many more speakers manually because that can confuse the AI. In this case, it did a fantastic job and it looks really accurate. So we're not going to adjust any of this. What we're going to do is go up here to the story script page. And now is where the magic really happens. And here you can see that it says that the AI will analyze your transcripts to identify the most emotional and meaningful moments to create a structured script that helps you build your wedding film narrative. Cool. Okay, so let's hit create story script right down here. This brings you to the story generator page, which here you have your transcript, MP3 audio, and then you can add a title for this script. So let's call this Topher and Gigi wedding film. And here's where it gets crazy. You can select your film length, short 3 to 5 minutes, medium 6 to 10, long 11 to 20. Let's stick with medium. And notice here, you can also select the dialogue density. Basically, do you want the film to be full of people talking throughout, or do you want less dialogue that focuses more on big emotional moments? Personally, I'm a high dialogue guy. I love talking, but you do you. You choose what you want. You know I'm a talker though. You know it, so we're going to keep it on high. Once you have filled this section of the page out, the AI will then be able to analyze your audio and discover the themes, emotional moments, and narrative patterns. So let's click Generate Story Insight Preview to have it do that. The AI is then going to give you an emotional tone breakdown. And for this film, it says that it is heartfelt, joyful, deeply spiritual, and intimate, which really nails the tone of this film, by the way. Everything it's saying here is exactly what this wedding day was and how I would describe it. It also says the mood, which is very accurate. Warm, celebratory, lighthearted. Yes, these are all terms that I would use too. Then it's also going to give you key themes here, like in this case, faith and spirituality, healing and transformation, adventure and risk, community. Yes, these are all very true themes that I would say are very accurate for this couple. And this is where you can help guide the AI in its editing process, because you can go down here and customize your wedding story and go through the themes and help the AI know what themes you want the film to focus on. So if you decide it doesn't need something, you can remove it by unchecking a box. In this case, I really like basically all of these, so let's leave them. We can also go over here to the standout moments and choose whether they need to be included or excluded, or even if you want them to start or end the wedding film. In this case here, we have one of the best man stories, which is not really about them as a couple, and so I don't know if I would really include that, so let's choose to exclude that moment, and it'll cross it out and say, hey, we're not going to use that in the story of the wedding film. Otherwise, though, we also have this letter from Gigi where she talks about cedars of Lebanon, and I remember that from the wedding, and remember that was really important to them, so let's choose that we're going to must include this. Lastly, you have motifs, and these are recurring patterns in the story that occur throughout the film. And notice here, the AI has selected Cedars of Lebanon, which we just talked about as a standout moment. So let's add a strong emphasis to this motif to make sure that it focuses on that part of the story. And because this was a very Christian wedding, I'm also going to choose this Pearl of Great Price as strong because that works really well, and also Jesus, because Christian wedding, it's going to fit in really well with that. Once that's done, you're going to want to scroll down here and check this Use This Story Insight preview to guide the script generation, because otherwise none of the stuff you just selected will matter. So you definitely want to make sure this box is checked. With that done, you can then scroll down here and select the speakers that you want to include in the film. This is really useful because remember, the AI detected me as a speaker in the film, and I don't want to be in the film. So I'm going to uncheck myself as the wedding videographer / coordinator. There's another really cool setting here too, where you can opt to guarantee at least one segment per selected speaker. So if you have an edit where you want to guarantee that everyone in the film gets a moment to speak and your couple or client is expecting that, Plotline will help you do that by checking this box. There's also more advanced options here too that are hidden and are really great. You can choose the areas of the story that you want the script to focus on. Do you want the wedding film to be more driven by the couple's vows, or by the toasts, or the family speeches, etc.? You can weigh things more heavily here. You can even write specifically what you want it to focus on with the custom focus setting. One thing I love is that you can also tell it to exclude things, and it does a lot of this by default. Legal formalities, the DJ yapping, those toasts that start with like, for those of you that don't know me, it'll cut it out. Awesome. Yeah, let's cut that out. And with that, it is now done, and it's time to generate a story script. So let's click generate and let Plotline start to go to work. And typically this takes about 45 to 60 seconds, but it really depends on how long your film is and how much content it had in it. So sit back and let it do its work. And just like that, you have a full story script broken down by how emotional each moment is and where it fits into the story structure. The script starts with a hook of the groom's letter, talking about the bride being a pearl of great price. And then it continues with the bride talking, and we go right into the maid of honor speaking about the couple and building the story of their love. If you want to hear how the audio sounds too, all you have to do is go up here and click on Load Audio Preview, and then click play, and it will play through all this audio for you to hear it. And then whenever you are finished, you can either go back to the story generator here if you want to tweak things, or you can go up here at the top to export and either export an XML or a timecode file. Personally, I would recommend XML. And so you can just select the software that you used. In this case, I used DaVinci Resolve. And then you can choose whether you want to export the XML as multicam clips or synced clips. To help visualize things for this tutorial a bit better, I'm going to choose synced clips, and then I'm going to select download XML. With that done, we're going to go back over here to DaVinci Resolve, File, Import, Timeline, import the XML file, select OK, and just like that, you will have a fully edited A-roll timeline in your editor ready for you to watch through and edit. Is this magic? It feels like magic. And I have to say, after testing this tool from an overall quality standpoint, which I realize quality in any sort of a creative endeavor like storytelling in a film is highly subjective, but to me, I do think that this AI has built a competent and powerful emotional story that would work very well for a wedding video. I'm also really impressed by the amount of controls that this tool gives you. It feels like the AI really understands story structure and how to assemble a plot, how to show the history of a couple, their emotions, and tie it all together in a really compelling way. At the same time, it gives you a ton of settings and boxes that you can check or uncheck to heavily personalize the way that it tells a story, which can help make it feel more personal to you and your preferences. To be clear, this tool is only helping with one part of the video, organizing the A-roll into a story. There's still plenty of work to be done in the edit though. You still have to add music. B-roll still needs to be added over most of the A-roll. All of the music needs to be mixed. You're still looking at hours of work, but Plotline took care of a big percentage of it. And this is something that never would have been possible even a few years ago. I find myself feeling personally conflicted about a tool like this, but at the same time, that's just me. And I would love to hear what you think about this tool. If I could guess where people's opinions will fall, I think that there are really pros and cons that different video editors are going to see. I can see some wedding filmmakers that are producing a very high volume of wedding films using Plotline to significantly speed up their workflow and complete edits faster. I can also see certain wedding videographers that have only ever used music in their edits, but they've been considering adding more story-driven audio elements to them using Plotline to just help discover the story in the audio. Heck, I can also see wedding photographers that are getting into wedding video using this tool because editing audio to tell a story isn't something you usually have to do as a photographer. At the same time though, on the other side of the fence, I can also see more established wedding videographers that already have a creative process for editing their wedding films in place being really upset about a tool like this because it's using AI to replace what is arguably the most creative part of an edit, discovering the story structure and really telling the story, which yes, is very time consuming, but is also a very critical part of the editing process. Let me put things another way then. I think that there are some people that view wedding videography and video editing in general as more of a business, where the faster you can complete an edit, the quicker you can get paid. While there are other people that really do it for the art, and they can never imagine relinquishing creative control over this part of the editing process to AI. Personally, I really enjoy the editing process. Discovering the story is my favorite part of editing, so I personally do not see myself using Plotline in my editing workflow, but I'm very interested to see what other people think. Would you use it to help you edit your wedding films? And here's a more interesting question. Do you think it could edit a story in a wedding video better than you can? I feel like there are two sides to AI right now. There is generative AI that is creating videos and photos from text typed that has been trained on the art of millions of real artists, and a lot of people are really upset and against it. But there is also AI that isn't being used to replace an artist, it's being used to help save people time. Think AI like the auto mixer in DaVinci Resolve that goes through your edits and levels all the audio and makes everything sound clear. It takes a task that sometimes takes hours and does it in less than a minute. AI tools like that are handling busy work, so we as artists have more time to be creative. And to me, Plotline, it feels like it falls more on the time-saving side of AI than on the type something to generate something AI. But like I said, I would love to hear your thoughts on Plotline because I feel like there's going to be a lot of mixed opinions from different people. If you want to check out Plotline though, it is linked in the video description, and Mac has given me the coupon code Who is Matt that you can use to save 25% off your first 3 months whenever you sign up. It'd be a huge help to me if you could like this video as well if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you loved it, and if you want to see more videos about filmmaking and video editing and tools like this. Thanks so much for watching and have a great day.